A Russian news site has reported that Britain will soon turn to cannibalism amid horrendous food shortages caused by war in Ukraine, based entirely on a Jeremy Clarkson column. Pro-Kremlin channel and website Zargrad TV reported on May 23, things are not going well in the UK. Their own population is preparing for starvation. It also claimed a state of emergency had been declared in Britain due to food shortages and explained, entirely seriously, in a May 18 article how British TV presenter Jeremy Clarkson of Top Gear warned about the dangers of cannibalism in the UK. The laughable claim, which has been repeated in a number of Zargrad TV's articles, was derived from a Sunday Times column in which the former TV presenter turned farmer expressed his concern over the global food crisis exacerbated by the war in Ukraine. The article covered some very real concerns such as the skyrocketing prices of fertilizer and gas, and considerable grain and oil shortages as a result of the conflict. But it was peppered by a series of jokes and tongue-in-cheek statements such as, politicians say they are monitoring the situation, which means they aren't doing anything at all, but one day they will have to because while people can live without heat or clothing or even sex, they cannot live without food. Hunger makes people eat their neighbors. The oligarch-owned, Pro-Putin channel decided this was all it needed to declare British citizens fledgling cannibals. Residents of the UK are very frightened that Ukraine, the world's leading supplier of grains and vegetable oils, no longer supplies anything to anyone. Store shelves are empty, and because of this, the country is rolling down an inclined plane, the Zargrad article read. The British are already being pushed towards cannibalism. Zargrad TV is owned by Konstantin Malofeyev, an Russian Orthodox billionaire and ultra-conservative Putin supporter. The oligarch in 2015 launched the channel which quickly earned the moniker Russia's Fox News, thanks in part to its conservative content, but also to Malofeyev's decision to hire former Fox News producer John Hancock to help create the platform. Malofeyev is also accused of being heavily involved in the financing and advising of Russian separatist forces in eastern Ukraine, playing a key part in Russia's annexation of Crimea and resulting unrest in the Donbas region since 2014. The war in Ukraine, together with Western sanctions against Russia, have sent the price of grain, cooking oil, fertilizer and energy soaring. That in turn is threatening a global food crisis as many countries count on Russia and Ukraine for more than half of their wheat imports, including some of the poorest. Russia and Ukraine together account for nearly a third of the global wheat supply, and their importance has been underscored by an Indian export ban and adverse crop weather in North America and Western Europe. Ukraine is also a major exporter of corn, barley, sunflower oil and rapeseed oil, while Russia and Belarus, which has backed Moscow in the war and is also under sanctions, account for over 40% of global exports of the crop nutrient potash. Clarkson, who in recent years has been learning to farm his own land in the Cotswolds and struck a deal with Amazon Prime to televise the journey, discussed his concerns over the knock-on effect of the war in Ukraine for food production in Britain. I don't pretend to be an expert in geopolitics any more than I pretend to be a farmer, but I really think the world has slipped into a pair of margarine trousers and is now hurtling down a well-watered slide into the pit of hunger, misery and death, he wrote. The problem is that next year many farmers will decide that, because of the costs involved, they'll use less fertilizer. Some will doubtless try to use none at all. Others will try to use cardboard or lawn clippings or feces instead. Either way they will produce less food. Prices are already going up, not by 7% or 10% but by a massive 37%. And the World Bank says it won't stop there. The British government could take a lead and force farmers to farm their land, with grants to pay for the fertilizer. But that isn't going to happen for a couple of reasons. The British government is run by Carrie Johnson, who thinks the countryside should be for badgers and not for growing food.